Welcome to Animation Debate. The fall season for anime has ended, and today I want to recommend a show from that season which surprised me for the better the most. And afterwards, I'll tell you about the anime series I'm most excited about for the winter season. Today, I want to talk to you about Tojima wa Kamen Rider ni Naritai, or in English, Tojima Wants to be a Kamen Rider. And if you're thinking, oh, this is just some tokusatsu fan service show, you're not wrong, but you're also missing what makes this anime genuinely special. Because what starts as a love letter to Kamen Rider becomes something way more universal, a story about passion, identity, and the courage it takes to be yourself when the world keeps telling you to grow up and move on. This show does something I haven't seen any anime do in years. It captures what it actually feels like to be obsessed with something as a kid. Not the sanitized, nostalgic version we usually get, the real thing. The kind of obsession where you'd rather skip lunch to save money for a toy, where you practice transformation poses in the mirror when no one's home, where loving something this much feels both thrilling and kind of embarrassing at the same time. Let me set the scene. Tojima Tanzaburo is a high school student who is absolutely, completely, unashamedly obsessed with a tokusatsu hero show called Kamen Rider. We're talking collector-level devotion. His room is packed with figures, belts, and memorabilia. He knows every episode, every form transformation, every rider's backstory. This isn't casual fandom. This became his entire identity. The anime has a lot of comedic moments that are set up in a, somehow, very weird and satisfying way. I've seen a lot of shows use this delusions of grandeur to build the jokes before, but this one takes it to a whole new level. It's hard to explain it without giving anything away, but trust me, you'll see what I mean from the first episode. This anime, as most of them do, does fall into some familiar tropes when it comes to handle friendship and romance dynamics, but it also adds some very bold and unique elements to it, and its own personal touch that references anime and manga culture of yesteryear, which I personally couldn't get enough of. Now let's talk about what makes this show specifically rewarding for tokusatsu fans, because that layer is absolutely there. The Kamen Rider references aren't just surface-level Easter eggs. The show clearly comes from creators who grew up with this stuff, who understand what these shows meant to Japanese kids over the past 50 years. The imagined transformation sequences that play out in Tojima's head are animated with legitimate cinematic flair. The belt mechanics, the rider kicks, the dramatic poses, everything is recreated with obvious affection. But more than that, the show understands the appeal of Kamen Rider on a thematic level. Kamen Rider, at its core, has always been about ordinary people who gain extraordinary power and use it to protect others. The riders are often outcasts or outsiders who transform that isolation into strength. They're heroes who fight not because they were born special, but because they chose to be brave. When you look at Tojima through that lens, the meta-narrative becomes clear. He really is a Kamen Rider in a way. And I think it ultimately sends a powerful message about what hardcore fandom can be. Not escapism, but armor. Not running away from the world, but finding the strength to face it. Here's where I need to get a bit more serious about what this show is actually exploring beneath the surface. Japan has incredibly strong social pressure toward conformity. The phrase, "the nail that sticks out gets hammered," doesn't just exist as a saying, it's a lived reality for many people. From a young age, Japanese children are taught to read the air, kuki-yo yomu, to sense the mood and expectations of a group and adjust themselves accordingly. Standing out, being too enthusiastic, caring too much about the wrong things, these can have real social costs. Otaku culture exists in complicated tension with this conformity. On one hand, Japan has embraced elements of otaku culture economically. Anime and manga are major exports. Akihabara is a tourist destination. But on a personal level, being openly otaku, especially about children's shows as a teenager or adult, still carries stigma. Tojima Wants to be a Kamen Rider is quietly radical in how it approaches this tension. It doesn't present the choice to stay passionate about Kamen Rider as inherently noble or foolish. Instead, it examines the actual lived experience of making that choice. The moments of joy, the moments of loneliness, the constant negotiation between self-expression and social survival. This anime arrived at an interesting cultural moment. We're living in an era where supposedly geek culture has gone mainstream. But has the stigma really disappeared, or has it just shifted? Because here's what I've noticed. It's socially acceptable now to casually enjoy these things, to watch the big superhero movie, to have seen a few popular anime. but to be deeply, genuinely passionate about them, to know the lore, to collect merchandise, to let it become a core part of your identity, that still makes people uncomfortable. We celebrate the sanitized mainstream version of geek culture while still mocking the actual geeks. We want the content without the intensity, the consumption without the obsession. In a way, the show argues that passion, real, unironic, intense passion about something is valuable in itself, not because it's productive or because it leads to some greater purpose, but because living with passion is simply a richer way to exist. In our current moment, where so much of life is mediated through screens, where cynicism is considered sophistication, where earnestness is often mocked, there's something genuinely brave about caring this much about anything. Look, I'm not going to tell you that this anime might change your life. I'm telling you that's definitely going to be the case. Okay, but seriously, I get that this kind of humor and character-driven approach won't appeal to everyone, but it is worth a try. If you've ever loved something that others didn't understand, if you've ever felt that tension between being yourself and fitting in, this show will speak to you. If you've ever had to decide whether to hide a part of yourself to make others more comfortable, or if you've ever watched a friend make that choice and wondered if they were right to do it, this show will resonate. Or maybe you'll just enjoy the weird and quirky humor the show has. Now for the winter anime I'm most excited about, Oshi no Ko Season 3. I know, the second season sucked, and the premise is very weird to begin with, and I heard the source material's ending felt rushed and incomplete, but I was hooked on the first season, and Tojima has reminded me to be an optimist, so I want to believe again. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did I convince you to give it a try? Did you like the anime as well? What are you most excited about for the new season? See you all next time!